Maritime Majesty was renowned for its luxury cruises, a floating palace of opulence and extravagance that traversed the azure seas. With its gleaming white hull and towering decks adorned with glass and steel, it was a beacon of comfort and adventure for passengers seeking an escape from the mundane. But beneath its polished exterior lay a dark history, a tale whispered among crew members in hushed tones. It was said that the Maritime Majesty was haunted, a vessel plagued by unexplained phenomena and restless spirits that wandered its corridors after nightfall. Among the crew was Natasha, a seasoned stewardess with a keen eye for detail and a deep respect for the sea. She had heard the stories of the ship's haunting, a shadowy figure glimpsed in the corner of the eye, disembodied voices echoing through empty hallways, and an inexplicable chill that seemed to linger in certain cabins. One foggy evening, as the Maritime Majesty sailed through the mist-shrouded waters, Natasha was tasked with delivering room service to a cabin on the upper deck. The air was cool and damp, the ship's lights casting an ethereal glow on the swirling fog that enveloped the vessel like a ghostly veil. Natasha knocked softly on the cabin door, balancing a tray of food in her hands. There was no answer, but she heard faint shuffling from within. Assuming her guest was simply delayed, Natasha reached for the doorknob and entered the cabin. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with a palpable tension. The curtains were drawn shut, casting the room in a dim twilight. Natasha set the tray down on the table, her senses on high alert as she turned to leave. A soft whisper echoed through the cabin, a voice so faint Natasha almost didn't register it. She froze, her heart skipping a beat as she strained to listen. The whisper came again, this time clearer and more urgent. "Help me." The voice was unmistakable, a plea tinged with fear and desperation. Natasha's breath caught in her throat as she scanned the cabin, her eyes wide with apprehension. There, in the far corner, stood a figure. A woman, draped in a flowing gown, her features blurred and indistinct. "Who are you?" Natasha managed to whisper, her voice trembling. But the figure remained silent, its form wavering like a mirage in the dim light. Natasha's pulse quickened, her mind racing with a mix of fear and curiosity. She knew she should leave, to call for help, flee the cabin. Something held her rooted to the spot, a sense of duty and compassion for the spectral presence before her. As Natasha approached cautiously, the figure seemed to shimmer in and out of focus, its presence casting a chill that seemed to seep into her bones. She reached out tentatively, her fingertips brushing against the icy air where the figure stood. And then, in an instant, the cabin fell silent. The figure vanished before her eyes, leaving only the echo of its whispered plea hanging in the air. Natasha stood frozen in disbelief, her mind reeling from the encounter. Outside, the fog had thickened, obscuring the view of the ocean beyond. Natasha took a shaky breath, her hands trembling as she reached for her radio to call the bridge. She needed to report what had happened, to make sense of the inexplicable encounter in the cabin. But as Natasha spoke to the captain and recounted her experience, she sensed a reluctance in his voice, a hesitation born from years of sailing the mysterious seas. He assured her that he would investigate, that they would search the ship and ensure the safety of all passengers and crew. Days passed and the incident in the cabin faded into a hushed memory among the crew. Natasha continued her duties with a watchful eye, half expecting another encounter with the spectral presence that haunted the Maritime Majesty. One stormy night, as the ship sailed through turbulent waters, Natasha found herself drawn to the upper deck. A restlessness stirring within her. The wind howled through the rigging, the waves crashing against the hull with a relentless fury. As Natasha rounded a corner, she caught sight of a figure standing at the ship's railing, a woman in a flowing gown, her hair whipping around her face in the gale. Natasha's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the spectral presence from the cabin, the same figure that had whispered to her in desperation, "Help me." The woman's voice was lost in the wind, her form flickering like a candle in the storm. Natasha approached cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest as she struggled to comprehend the scene unfolding before her. The woman turned towards Natasha, her eyes wide with fear and longing. Without thinking, Natasha reached out, her hand trembling as it passed through the icy air where the woman stood. The sensation sent a chill down her spine, a cold reminder of the spectral presence that haunted the Maritime Majesty. And then, As quickly as she had appeared, the woman vanished into the night, leaving Natasha standing alone on the deck, her thoughts swirling with unanswered questions. In the weeks that followed, Natasha couldn't shake the memory of the haunted figure on the Maritime Majesty. She sought solace in the company of her fellow crew members, sharing her experience in hushed tones during quiet moments on the ship. But the whispers persisted, tales of encounters with the spectral presence, of sightings in the dead of night when the ship sailed through mist-shrouded waters. The crew grew uneasy, their superstitions fueled by the unexplained phenomena that seemed to plague the Maritime Majesty. And as the ship continued its journey across the vast expanse of the ocean, Natasha couldn't help but wonder about the woman in the flowing gown, the ghostly presence that had reached out to her from beyond the veil of the living. Was she a lost soul trapped between worlds? A victim of tragedy that had unfolded on the Maritime Majesty long ago? Or was she a warning? A reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the luxurious cruise ship? As Natasha gazed out at the endless horizon, the ocean stretched before her like a vast and unknowable expanse. And somewhere, in the depths of her heart, she knew that the Maritime Majesty held secrets far darker than the depths of the sea, a ship haunted by the echoes of its past and the restless spirits that wandered its corridors.